All right, so here is kind of enough to get you going on error handling. I think you know, if you're going to go into Python, you're going to want to learn a little bit more than this. But as this is really just meant to kind of warm you up to the concept, and especially if you're a student and at the tech, you're going to be moving into a different language anyway. But the idea of exception handling, it definitely exists in a bunch of different languages that you're going to be encountering. This right here is my uh, mission name program, and I have actually altered quite a bit of it actually as I started going through it. It kind of made some adjustments, so it's probably worth explaining a little bit. First of all, here's the main line, and what the main line is doing is basically reading the adjectives.txt file. It's reading the nouns file. It's producing two lists. It feeds those two lists into something called generate mission names, which passes out a list of mission names, and then it writes them out to a file. Now, I got a few other members in here. To be honest, at some point I had this vision of going in and making it kind of a databasey type thing, and I still think about that every now and again. But for now, I'm pulling back. So if we look at here's the read. The read is doing the input file handle, right? So input file handle. Oh, adjectives. That's what I meant by that. Adjective. So notice, by the way, quick little thing here about design. I'm using the same same method. I'm going to say same method. So so I basically feed in a file name. It opens it to read. It does some of the goofy things like basically reading and then stripping off the I'm trying to remember what it's probably commas, I guess, right? Then it's splitting off the commas. Now I can't remember what that's doing. I think it's stripping off the end, I think is what it's doing. Anyway, then it creates a list. Then we close the file and return the list. And this is where we're going to focus our attention. All right, so when I run it, and before I run it, let me just show you what's in the directory. So here's the directory or folder, as the kids call it. I'm going to run it. I'm going to go. It generated 4 mission names. It put it into that directory, and it put the errors here. I'll put this code, by the way, just for your own edification, into the content section of the course. So if I look over here and I say what's in here now, here's mission names, and these are that was what was generated. If I was to run it again, so let's go close. Tell you what, let's rename it so it doesn't clobber it, and let's go over here and run it again. Ran it again. Now I've got mission names. This is the one it just did. Here's the one it did. And look at that. Look at that. Pure randomization. Just beautiful. Beautiful. All right. I love it. All right. So throw you up. So how are we going to use what we just learned? Well, what we just learned was that if the file doesn't exist, it'll generate an error. Now, at this point, I'm kind of hard coding it in, and I'm not really going to get into changing that at this point. I'm just going to continue the hard coding, but I'm going to basically deliberately make an error. If I run it now, it blows up right away with a file not found error. In your own travels, usually when an error pops up, you'll get the name of the error, and it'll be just as easy as this. What you can do is at the open, I'm going to say, no, try this. Just try it. Just try it. Okay, and if you can't do this, so except, and that's the error, then basically print something to the effect of file name not found. Very much like we did last time. There's lots of other cool things you can be doing here, but we'll just do that. Now, by the way, I still agree that probably putting all of that into here would be good. Now, just one thing to note about this. One thing to note. We're going to do a little bit more. Well, I'll tell you what, let's just run it. Let's run it first of all. Go. Boom. So it actually hit that error. Great. But what happened now is because it hit that error, the list didn't exist, right? And because the list didn't exist, when I tried to return the list, it blew up right there. So that's kind of the sad part that's going on here. What I probably want to do to make this thing a little bit better is have the list initialized to an empty list. And that will help the return statement, I think. All right. So now I get my error message not found. Now, oh my goodness, it generated 0 names. And you know what it did? What it did is it ended up clobbering my mission names file. So now there's nothing in it. I probably didn't want that. I'd like to stop that kind of stuff from happening. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically have a variable, which I'm going to call successful read. I'm going to initialize it to true. And then in here, if we're successful, I'm going to go actually, I'm not going to do anything because it's already initialized at the top there. If it's not successful, I'm going to print the line, and then I'm going to go successful read is assigned false. And then when I return, I'm going to return that and successful read. I'm going to let the calling part of the code know that it was successful or not successful. Then down here with these various reads, it's going to come out with that. So let's see. So yep. So I'm going to basically say keep going, which is going to be assigned true, true. And then I'm going to basically say right here, this guy and keep going. It's coming out of that. And this guy and keep going. It's going to be out of that. And then what I'm going to basically say is if keep going is assigned true, then go ahead and do the rest. So let's move that over, move that over. Otherwise, say something to the effect of print some issue with the source files. All right, and I don't know, I'm just going to get rid of that comment. I'm sure that meant something to me in the past, but it doesn't mean anything to me now. So there it is. Keep going is equal to true. It's going to go in there and read list. It's expecting 2 things to come out: a list and a Boolean, basically, because I'm using it down here as a Boolean. If we go up to here, we're going to see that at the end of the day, we're returning a list and a Boolean. And so, so if either one of these things tank, oh, that's a bad code right there. That is bad. Well, I'll tell you more in a minute. You can. I've gone off my script, by the way, but whatever. This is whenever I use the script. It'd be boring if I use the script. So here's the thing. Keep going is true, right? In here, it's going to become false. But then it's going to do this guy. It's going to come back as true, and then it's going to go ahead into here because this guy was successful. We probably can't do that. We probably need to make sure that if this guy is successful, great, do the next line. And then if that guy's successful, great, and then do the next line. I'm 100% sure there's a better way to do it, but I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to say if keep going is assigned true, then go ahead and do that. And that's it, right? There's no end or anything like that. So if keep going is true, go ahead and do that. If now at this point, keep going, if it's false, it's not going to go into here, so we don't have to worry about the population of some of these other variables. Let's try this guy out and see what happens. One, we're going to unit test it. We're going to go, and it got mad at me because, oh my goodness, Grant, you've mixed up your languages. All right, so that's if it's assigned true. And why am I even doing the assigned true? I just told you guys not to do that, so don't. We're out there. Let's get some error too. Let's get some error. I want error there, and I want some error there. All right, so I'm going to go run, go, and go. And it didn't find that, and so it went right to the some issues. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and test it where the nouns is the problem. We're going to go run, go, and go. Nouns not found, some issue with the source file. Let's test it with both. Just so you know, it's only going to probably blow up with the first one. And let's test it when it's successful. Beautiful. And did it actually do it? Let's have a look. There's my thing working. So that is kind of like the bare minimum of how to use this. Now, you know, I gotta, there's list stuff we could be doing as well. Like, let me just show you that at the risk of screwing up my own little demo here. Again, why use a script when you could just torture your students? So here's the deal. I'm going to go and create myself a list, and then I'm going to go list is assigned, and help me out, Grant. A, B, C. So we got myself a nice little list, and if I go list, it's A, B, C. Now, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on this area here. I'm going to go remove. So I'm going to go list, remove, B. And it worked without a problem. If I go list, or if I go list, it's going to go boom, right? By the way, look, there's an error. Anyway, all right, so now what if I want to remove it again? If I go list, remove B, it gets me an error. Well, that's okay, but you know what? If I was kind of getting to the point of allowing the user to start adding their own members to these lists. That's kind of what these are. So I wanted to get to a point where they could add an adjective if they want, or add a noun, or remove them, right? And then basically regenerate the list. That's kind of where I was heading with this fabulous little program, but we're not going to get there. But I can at least kind of talk a little bit about this part of the processing. So what I could do here is I could go, and I don't think doing it at the prompt is the smartest move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself another quick little program, grab myself the favorite bits. So here's a list. And actually, I'm surprised I'm not using the, you know what? I am going to use that. I'm going to use the thing. Okay, look, hey, the previous video is just finished processing. I think I got it in right there, right? Visualizer. All right, so let's go to the visualizer because this stuff works in the visualizer. So there's a remove. This guy won't know what the list is. So let's go ahead and, guys, I got to tell you again, this visualizer is awesome if you're just trying to learn the language. And whatever language you do end up trying to learn more of, whether it's C# or C++ or Java, there's usually a visualizer out there for it. So definitely look at them. So if I run this thing, there's our guy in memory, and then our remove will pop it out. All right, good deal. We know that already, Grant. What are you going to do? Well, let's remove it again. So I'm going to go copy. Okay, well, actually, I can just probably just do it again. So I'm going to get it to remove it again. Copy, and we know that when it tries to remove it again, it's going to blow up. So we go next, and then kabang, there's our value error, which is the error message. So what I can do is say, hey, can you try this? Try that out, all right? And then I can go accept. If you get a value error, so if you actually get a value error, then why don't you print out? So let's go, and next. So it's going to remove B. Now it's going to try to remove B again. So watch the arrow, try. It's going to go in. It's going to try and do that. It's going to go. And oh, well, that didn't work. Is that a visualizer thing, or did I just forget something? Oh, I tell you what, man. Let's just try it out. I'm going to go run. You're going to say, dude, you got to save it. I'm going to save it as list error. Okay, don't try error handling in the visualizer because you'll notice it worked like a peach there. So anyway, all right, that's enough. I've kind of blown it. But getting back to a little program, areas that I think I would have probably wanted to put that in, I would have wanted to put some kind of processing here so that if someone basically tried to remove a noun or whatever that wasn't there, it wouldn't just, you know, error out. I'd actually just trap it and say, hey, just so you know, it's not there, so don't worry about it. And the write, I might have done something where we try to open the file, but remember what write does is it overwrites a file. So what if the file is already there? What I might want to do is do something where if the file's there, value error, like cause an explosion and basically say, hey, the file's already there, pick something else and then get out, right? The cool part about creating your own error is that it's going to, as soon as you create an error, it's going to bypass all this processing. It's going to fly right out of there with an error. So that's, anyway, so that's something to think about. So I would have put one there, and I think, yeah, I don't really like this too much. I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night screaming when I did that, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's have a look at anything else. No, we're good. Definitely to, you know, internalize the idea of using Booleans to control your logic flow, right? And when you're doing your Booleans, make sure that you got decent names. Now, I know one thing I was going to say about this. Try is basically, it's going to try this entire block. Now, you and I were just talking about how this thing could fail. Well, you know, actually really hardly anything else here could fail, but what if there was something else in here that would fail? It would blow up. And if it blew up, it wouldn't blow up with a file not found. It would blow up perhaps with a value error or something like that. If it blew up like that, then it would leave the exception section and just fly out with that error. That error would then come launching out of read lists and come to right there. It would blow out of read lists. This error, this line would then blow up. So then it would blow up out of main, and then from there it would blow up in whatever it was that called the error. That's called error propagation. All right. So let's. I don't know if I can actually show that or not. I can't really show. I can't really show that or not. While I'm talking about errors, by the way, one last thing. You've got syntax errors. I think I've talked about this with you guys, but I've forgotten. Syntax errors, runtime errors, and like logical or semantic errors, right? The error handling I'm showing you is mostly happening during runtime, because remember, Python is an interpreted language. It's happening at runtime. It's not going to really deal with your semantic errors, like if you just don't know what you're doing, and you got some kind of logic error in there. It's only going to be basically happening when some event happens in the code that would cause a Pythonic error, like a file not found or revalue value errors. If I was to go and do a quick little Google search on this, Python error handling, look at that right away, boom, you'll see, okay, that's from their own documentation, but right there in W3 schools, they definitely have a couple ideas. I didn't talk about finally, but I'll let you look at that. But there's a nice little error right there. Why would that be an error? Why would that be an error? He says as he goes flying in here. Let's go. The try block will generate an error because X is not defined. Of course, yeah, X is, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. So X not defined. Come on, work for me here. So whereas if I said X is assigned 5 and I run it again, we're going to get it printing 5. He says with all the confidence of someone watching a spinning circle. So there you go. All right. So that is your error processing videos. There's a lot more to the topic, but there's not a big reason to dive deep into it unless you're going to go further into Python. Again, you've got your friends here, right? This thing is actually a very good resource for that. All right. So on to the next one.